The great thing about ear training is it has to be interactive. That is to say, it's not like a lecture where essentially there's a one-way flow, we hope, of information. Here, I give you things, you've got to give me things back. What I'm going to do is dictate to you, and you're going to write things down in phonetic symbols. And I want to hear about whether you get it right or wrong. And whenever you get it wrong, then we'll practice that particular point. We're going to start then with a very simple exercise where I give you 4 English words. And I want you to write them down, 1, 2, 3, 4, in phonetic transcription and in ordinary spelling as well, to show that you've identified what the word is. I'll give them several times, and then we'll go through them together. So here are our 4 words. Identify them. Match, much, march, madge. Again. Match, much, march, madge. Again. Match, much, march, madge. Again. Match, much, march, madge. We have match, much, march, madge. 4 different English words, and you ought to have been able to identify each one correctly. So first we had match, like a football match, or to strike a match with a light. Then we had much, a lot. And we had march, like Soldiers' March, or the name of the month. And last we had madge, which is a name. Who got them all 4 right? Good, well done those who did. Now, any problems with identifying A and the difference between A and B? Everybody clear? Match, much, much, match, match, much. Now, is this A or B? Much. B, good. Match, A. Match, A. Much, B. Much, B. That's right. Any of the others you'd like practiced? Yes?
A and D.
A and D. That's match, madge. This, of course, is a matter of the so-called voicing of the final consonant. But you'll notice that in English, the j is not really voiced throughout. We don't say madge. So you have to listen to something to do with duration. A is match, match, match. D is madge, madge, madge. All right, A or D? Madge. D. Match. A. Match. A. Madge. D. Yes. Good. Any other pairs? That means we're ready to move on to another set. Again, 4 words. There may be more than one way of spelling these in everyday spelling, but there's only one sound we're talking about. So here we go. Ride, light, lied, right. This is especially for the Japanese. Again. Ride, light, lied, right. Ride, light, lied, right. We have ride, ride, be light. C, lie, D, right. Three different possible ways of spelling D, right. So this is an exercise on R and L at the beginning and T and D at the end. First was ride, like ride a bicycle. Then we had light, switch on the lights, light and heavy. Then lied, told a lie. And lastly, right. Most English people round their lips for R, right. But we don't round our lips for initial L, so light and lied. So you want to look. The other point here is the T versus D, and you notice that this depends largely upon duration, because before D, voiced, we get a longer kind of effect, ride. Before T, voiceless, we get what we call clipping, with somewhat shorter right than the D. Caller, cola, colour, collar. Again, caller, cola, colour, collar. Again, caller, cola, colour, collar. Caller, cola, colour, collar. Now in the phonetic transcription there, I've put in the stress mark in the IPA way before the syllable in question. The final vowel each time is a schwa, our weak vowel, Now, any pairs there you'd like me to compare for you? Yes? B and D. B is cola, cola, cola. D is collar, collar, collar. O. Traditionally called long O in cola, short O in collar. Yeah. Yes? C and D. Collar, 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 collar. Collar is C, collar is D. Which is this, C or D? Collar. D, yes. Collar. Again, you can look, you see I've got lip rounding for collar, D, but not ca. C, color. However, Americans, of course, would say color for D. Americans would say color, C, color, D. So you do have to listen to the sound. You can't rely on the lips. In American English, for reference, they are collar, cola, color, collar, like that. Now, A and D, did you say? A and D. Caller, A, caller, caller, caller. Collar, 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 D. So, long and short, the vowel in A, caw, has close lip rounding in modern RP and so on. Caw, caller, it is the most rounded vowel we have, caller. The shorter vowel in D is not so close and not so rounded. Collar, collar, collar. A, caller, caller, caller. D, collar, collar, collar. Which is this? Caller. A. Caller. A. Caller. A. Caller. Collar. D. Collar. Caller. That's it. Good. We have to build up now to having a dictation of connected speech, connected English. Before we do that, just let's practice one or two pairs of words that are related in meaning and in spelling but have very different pronunciation. So just take these two words, transcribe them into phonetic symbols as well as giving the spelling. The two words are study and student. Study, student. Study, student. Study, student. Study, student. Just to remind ourselves really of the importance of vowel sounds that are not shown distinct in the spelling. Because here we have study, the vowel up, strut, what colour is it? Compared with the U sequence, semivowel y plus U in student. Other things here, the happy vowel at the end of study, and syllabic nasal in student, possible alternative pronunciation, student, with a schwa vowel between the D and the N, but we don't usually say student, we usually say student. Student. Did you all get those? Right, now some people, particularly in London, particularly people under about 30 years of age, say student. What are they doing? Student. Student. I'm a student. Student. What can we say about that? Well, you notice that the first sound is different, and so is the rest. And so we get this kind of thing. Student. Student. Compared with my more conservative pronunciation, which was student. 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 English, like all languages, is changing. We have to try and keep up to date with these things. It seems to me to be absolutely awful to say student, but I have to report to you that perhaps a majority of my undergraduate students call themselves students. Well, again, with phonetic symbols we can write down differences and refer to them. We're ready now for some connected English. Try this phrase. I want it in phonetic transcription with rhythmic stresses shown. If you can do intonation as well, which some of you can, then do the intonation, but if you haven't done that, don't worry. So here we go. Who's that over there? 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 Whose means who is, of course. This is the contracted form we normally use in conversation. Who's that over there? Each word has a stress, so we have 4 rhythmic beats. Who's that over there? Nucleus is on the last of these, which is there. What was the nuclear tone? There. That's called a low fall. Who's that over there? So the technical name for the intonation pattern we have here is a stepping head and a low fall. This hasn't yet been covered in the lectures, but it will be in due course. Who's that over there? Stepping head, low fall. Typical pattern for a WH question, such as we have here. Now, all the vowels and consonants, are they straightforward? Any problems there? Anything you'd like me to compare and contrast? Good. I hope your silence means you're getting it all correct, not that you're too shy. Answer, it's Bill. 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 That's very easy. Bill. Name. But we often put proper names into dictations because proper names are difficult. You can't be helped by the context. There's not any support in the surrounding words in the way that there is with ordinary small words. So you do have to listen to the sounds. Did you all get Bill correct? This is a nice easy one to start with. That's right. The underline tells us where the nucleus is. Well, that's the tone mark. Because I say I'm showing this with intonation. Now, if you've just got a simple stress mark, that's fine. That's not wrong. But what I'm doing is showing the intonation as well for those who have done intonation or who are interested in it. And in fact, we've got the same pattern of a falling tone again here. This one is a high fall rather than a low fall. It's Bill. Yes, so I think whistling is a very good way of demonstrating intonation. I'm going to patent it. It's Bill. What's he like? 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 Foreigner's pronunciation of that sentence, what is he like? Okay, characteristics of connected speech again then. What's he like? What's he like? What's, meaning what is, he, weak form of he, no H, happy vowels, what's he? Meaning what is he? What's he like? What's he like? On the syllable like, and we had a high fall. What's he like? So a high head and a high fall. What's he like? In spoken English, this could also stand for what does he like? Although I think I would probably make a difference and I'd say what does he like for what does he like and what's he like for what is he like. But in some kinds of English they would both sound the same, which is confusing and difficult, but there we are. This means what is he like, so he's like this or he's like that, he's similar to this or similar to that. What's he like? All clear? Longer answer coming up. He's one of our best students. 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 Write it down the way I say it. He's one of our best students. He's one of our best students. He's one of our best students. Now, he's, again, this is this weak form, happy vowel, means he is one of our, I didn't say our, because we don't normally say our, we say our, and meaning he's one of our best students. Our best students. What did I do there? I left out the T of best. We call this elision. It's one of the things that happens in ordinary spoken English, when we have a word that ends in st, like best, and the next word begins with a consonant, like student, we tend to leave out the T. So rather than saying best student, which is difficult, we say best student, with a long S, best student, best student. He's one of our best students. Intonation stayed low till best, high head, students, high fall. Any problems there? Yeah. Well, this is the way we usually pronounce this word. What can I say more than that?
But you usually use a triphthong.
You write a triphthong, yes. Well, listen out. Listen to people talking. See if you hear anybody saying our. You will hear one or two people saying our, but most of the time you'll hear people saying ah.
Which one is received pronunciation and which one?
Well, if you count me as a native speaker of received pronunciation, which I think you can, this is what I normally say.
Why?
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 Well, if you want some discussion about it, this is what we call smoothing, where a diphthong before a weak vowel loses its second element, and the resultant R coalesces into a long vowel. And in this word, this has been sort of lexicalized so that it isn't the product of an ongoing process, but it's just the way the word is pronounced. I mean, one of the first things we learn as little children is to say the Lord's Prayer. What are the first two words of the Lord's Prayer? Our Father. And that's certainly the way I learnt it. Our Father, our Father, our Father. And so this is very deep set. I'm sorry if it comes as a surprise, but there we are. This is how we say it.
Both dictionaries.
Well,
the other one first.
They do, don't they? Yeah.
Sorry.
But that's why this is an exercise in listening, because all the good dictionaries do give you both of these possibilities.
Yes,
Yes. We face here a dilemma that we often do with teaching English as a foreign language. Should we use the pronunciation that corresponds to the spelling, because that's easier, again, or should we use the pronunciation we usually use, even if it doesn't, again? And it's a dilemma. Here we're just practicing listening, so I can do whatever I like, whatever is more difficult for you. Ah, he's one of our best students. Good. What's he studying? 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 Now there again we've got a contraction, what's, meaning what is. This time I pronounced the H. I could have said, what's he studying? But I said, what's he studying? Because this is an exercise for you to listen, whether I pronounce the H or not. What's he studying? Study, happy vowel at the end, before the ing suffix. Studying. What's he studying? Nucleus, stud. High fall again for a WH question, so high head, high fall. What's he studying? What's he studying? Yes. Any problems? Any queries? Any discussion, please?
Would there be any difference if instead of the happy vowel and the E, we use a long E?
Well, it would sound a bit funny. So what's he studying? What's he? If we stressed it, we do that. What's he studying? But what's he studying? I didn't use that sound. I didn't say what's he like counting, 2, 3, 4. I said, what's he studying, and not what's he studying. Now, this is a very subtle difference, and obviously utterly unimportant, so let's not waste too much time about it. But in fact, this is a weak position, and I weakened the vowel.
Doesn't sound different.
Well, it does sound different, yes, enough to know which is which. But it's not worth worrying about the difference. What's he studying? You're one at a time, yes?
Do you use capital I instead of happy I?
Well, if you insist, you can, but we use the happy vowel symbol because we want to reflect the fact that it isn't quite the same as the short vowel I. Traditionally, that's what people did, so we have to allow you to do it. Somebody here.
Are we obliged to do it?
Well, same question. We recommend you to, and I think the main reason, perhaps, is the fact that my kind of pronunciation that uses really much the same quality for the happy vowel as for the short vowel is becoming old-fashioned. And you're getting all these young teachers of English as a foreign language who don't do that naturally, but use something like happy, and either we're going to have to say the dictionaries are wrong, or we're not catering for their pronunciation. This is a freedom. This happy vowel gives you greater possibilities. It says you can use the old I, or you can use something intenser, and it doesn't matter. So I think you should see it as a bit of liberation, rather than as some extra terrible problem.
Another question, so a vowel is square brackets and the other kind of brackets. I think I am wrong. When I studied at university, I was always told that the other brackets were just phonemic, and square brackets when we spoke about speech, but I guess I am wrong.
My understanding is that slants are for phonemes, and phonemes are things in your head. Square brackets are for things that we can actually pronounce, noises, and so basically I'm oriented towards square brackets when I'm giving dictation. However, because we do phonemicize this, for this kind of dictation you can argue that it's more sensible to use slants. I'm using neither one nor the other, so the issue doesn't arise.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Where else?
Does that by having
When you add inflectional endings, D, Z, ing, we keep the I there. So we have carry.
no, but my question is when it finishes in Y, for example, like this time.
You're thinking about spelling. I'm not thinking about spelling, finishing in Y, none of these. But yes, words like study, studying,
And playing.
happier. Playing, well, play doesn't have that at all. Play has play. When we add in, we add in. Playing. Afraid of to get away from thinking of this in terms of orthography, because orthography is not where it's at in terms of pronunciation. Studying, playing. Trying, another one with a Y, of course, is trying. Lots of people taking the IPA test fell down on the word trying because they forgot it has 2 syllables, trying, and they thought it was some kind of trying, which it isn't. Okay. Does that cover those worries? Let's get on. Okay, what's he studying? The phonetics of modern languages. 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 Okay, weak vowels, schwas in the first 2 syllables, the the phonetics of, weak form of modern, pronounced with a syllabic nasal, the way I said it, modern. Lang is the nucleus, low form. Languages. The phonetics of modern languages. How was that?
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Well, we like to stretch you, but I hope it makes sense. The phonetics of modern languages. Anything you'd like me to compare? Modern. Both possible? That sounds interesting. 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 I elided the D from sounds, pronounced just sounds. That sounds interesting. Various ways of saying that word. I gave you interesting, not interesting, and not interesting. Certainly not interesting. That sounds interesting. We had a high fall on that, followed by a low rise on inch. Without the L, it would be Jeff. Sher Jeff. Mine was Sher Jelf. Can you hear the L? Jelf. Jelf. Well, it has to be there. I mean, in a word like health, you couldn't leave it out. You might vocalize it, but you couldn't omit it. Health, wealth, wealthy, Jelf. Sher Jelf. Dark L, of course, in this position. Jelf. Anything else? Sher Jelf. Another one. Sacrundor. 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 Last time, sacrundor. 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 Now, the stressed vowel there was crumb, the same vowel that we had from strut and colour and so on. Crumb, crumb, sacrundor.
And if you say sacrundor, can you remove?
Sorry, wave at me. Was
With an
talking.
L.
Okay, yes. With an L at the end.
Instead of an L.
So you've got that kind of thing. Sacrundor. Well, that would sound very similar, wouldn't it? One of the things we're going to see in the next lecture is that L can be vocalized in this position, which does make it sound similar. They are different, though. We still have a difference between Warsaw and Walsall. Walsall, and this one ends in saw, and this one ends in saw, and can be reduced to saw. Door, that's a vowel. But that's a very understandable and reasonable confusion, so don't worry about that. Anything else? Yes, at the back.
Yes. Why did you use this N NG and
The
crumple.
velar nasal. Why did I use it? Because that's what I said.
Then I got wrong.
Okay. You,
I thought it was a simple N.
right, you thought it was an alveolar N, which would be that, which would be crundle. Crundle. Well, this is especially to trap all the Spanish speakers and all the Japanese and so on, for whom this contrast is tricky. Both are possible in English. Mine was crundle, crundle. On the board is crundle, crundle, crundle. That one is called velar. This one is called alveolar, which is this, crundle, alveolar, crundle, alveolar, crundle, velar. Well, this is the old problem of, you mustn't sin here, you mustn't sing here. If we can get it before a D, you mustn't sin, dear. You mustn't sing, dear. They can be in contrast in that position. Okay. Yes.
So, I already had my answer when you said sing dear. I was looking for an example in English.
Okay, I've given you one.
Thank you.
Jolly good. Yes, we always have to think whether this is actually important, and it's not terribly important, to be honest, but it's a good exercise in listening, you see.